note, my name is not Barry Cranford, it's Anthony Ascioli. I'm just using his account, and I'm here with the beautiful Carly that helps me MC every event in the Aspiring Speakers community. If it's your first time here, we are in a mission of helping speakers to give their first talks at be it at work, at big conference events, just getting started in their journey. Lots of former members changed their career around, went into full-time developer advocacy roles and things like that. Carly is one of them. She can say more about that. We are helped by a really nice group called RecWorks. They work with recruitments. If you have any business, please send it their ways. They keep our community alive and are very old friends of us. And we are here today with Alex, Shabana, Chris, and Zoe, which were part of our last event at Devoxx UK. Some of them gave the very first talk for in a big conference like this. And we're here to ask them some questions and figure out how this experience was. So without further ado, I leave you with our hostess, Carly Richmond here. Cheers.
Thank you. Right. I will introduce myself briefly, and then I would love each of our four speakers to introduce themselves too. So my name is Carly Richmond, as Anthony said. I lead the developer advocate team within DevRel at Elastic. And as obviously not Barry, Anthony discussed and hinted, I used to work as a software engineer before I transitioned into advocacy. So I have been on a similar speaking journey before. So I want to have each of our speakers who spoke at Devoxx just come off and quickly, introduce yourself and maybe say why you wanted to do this and get into speaking. Chris, do you want to start first?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So I'm Chris Davis. I currently a backend engineer working at Rightmove. I've got probably over 25 years experience, and I'm kind of coming to that point where I'm thinking I want to try and do something else. I want to try and, I guess, give back a bit. So got a lot of knowledge and experience and just trying to figure out what the right way of doing things are. So I thought speaking at a conference and seeing whether there's sort of opportunities that come from that. Yeah, so that was kind of my thought process as much as it was.
Thank you. Cool. Shabana, do you want to go next?
Thanks, Carly. So yeah, I'm Shabana. I'm a full stack and SharePoint developer working for East West Rail. Yeah, I am new to tech, so I'm trying to learn at the same time, build my confidence. Not being in the corporate world for that long, so this is a great opportunity for me to kind of not only build my confidence, but also be able to have sessions at work where I can confidently speak. So yeah, this is a great way to build my portfolio. Thank you.
Thank you. Alex, why don't you go next?
Hi, everybody. I'm Alex McLintock. So I'm fairly experienced, typically in IT architecture. And so a lot of my role is talking to people and explaining how to do things and also listening to them as well. And this is something that I've been wanting to strengthen for a long time. Technically, this wasn't actually my first conference talk. I did a single conference talk before in 2017, so that was like 7 years ago. So for me, I guess the biggest problem is motivation and actually applying and committing to everything. So
yeah, and coming back
this
after
this group really helped with that. Thank you.
Cool. And Zoe, last but not least, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, so yeah, I'm Zoe. I'm a data analyst tutor, and the reason why I wanted to do the Devoxx talk was just to build my public speaking skills. I get a bit nervous talking in front of strangers. I just wanted to have a bit more practice. So yeah, that's me.
Thank you. So of course we've got a lovely small group here, which means that there's an opportunity for you to ask each of our 4 speakers any question. There's no such thing as a daft question when it comes to getting into speaking. If you want to come off mute or raise your hand, I'll keep an eye out on things and we'd love for you to ask a question. If not, I have a few that we can help get started. You can also use the chat function if maybe you're off camera, you're eating your lunch and things, but you still want to ask a question, and we'll keep an eye on those as well, because that's how really we all learn as speakers, is being able to find out the answers to the questions and the things that might be stopping us speaking. But the first question I have for all of our speakers, and obviously we might go into individual ones with different people, is do you want to explain what your topics were, what you actually spoke about at Devoxx?
Yeah, I'm happy to start. So I spoke about data storytelling and just the art of data storytelling and why it's so important, and the different tools that are out there, like Power BI and libraries in Python. So yeah, it's just mainly centered around data storytelling and the importance of it.
Cool, thank you.
Shall I go for it?
Yeah, go for it, Alex.
I work in the field of data analytics, mostly building infrastructure for that. And I wanted to introduce people to, I figured that most of the attendees of Devoxx were developers, so I wanted to introduce them to the concept of data platforms, tools and systems and environments that help them do that data analysis. And Zoe's talk was brilliant. There you go. That was my topic about.
Cool. Shabana, do you want to go next?
Yeah, happy to go next. So yeah, my talk was about breaking into tech as in a later stage in life, and I just wanted to kind of send out the message that it's never too late to, because I did feel that I was too late to break into tech, and I had doubts about making it work, but you can make it work. So yeah, that was my talk. Thank you.
So I guess I go last. My talk was on optionals, Java construct, I guess, and it was more just like I thought I'd kind of do some fairly, I guess, light-hearted look on it and some of the things which maybe people aren't aware of, because I'm sure a lot of people, I assume that a lot of people at Devoxx would be Java engineers, and therefore they know all about it or think they know all about it, and it'd be just a nice way of being able to introduce some other thoughts about it.
Cool. So we had some very varied topics, which was great. I see a question from Tony in the chat about Zoe's talk. Did you use Lego as an analogy? So no, I know Zoe, you come back saying you didn't, but it would have been a good example. Do you want to explain what analogy you did use? Because your analogy was actually quite powerful.
Yeah, so I used the example of Semmelweis, who was a scientist, and how he was encouraging doctors to wash their hands, and they didn't want to listen to him because of the way he presented the data in like a tabular format, which wasn't useful. And then I compared it with Florence Nightingale, who was doing the same thing, but presented her data with visuals. It was like a rose map that she used that was colorful and it was just clear to understand. So it's just an example of using something that was confusing to something that was easy to understand. But yeah, hand washing was my example, but Lego would have been good.
Cool. Nice. So the first question I have is, you obviously had your topics, you submitted them via a CFP, which obviously got accepted. So how did you prepare for your talk slot? What did you do? Who would like to start us on that?
I have a list. Repetition, repetition, repetition. I've just got 4 more very quick points. I wanted to keep the slides as simple as possible, so I didn't actually put a lot of effort into them. Just start off with very basic points. Don't worry about the PowerPoint or at the start. Keep the talk as simple as possible. Make the talk flexible in case I mess up or need to change something, and that's also good for editing it later. Thinking, oh, actually, I put this topic in, but really it doesn't need to go in there. Let's rip it out for speed, timing, and don't sweat the details. Nobody's going to remember the really small things. I think if you're like me, you not a perfectionist, but you care about all the details. And in reality, that's not the point for a talk like this. It's the big picture is much more important. So those are the things I focused on. Please tell me other things. Anybody else?
Yeah. So what did anyone do that was different to like practicing their
Or the same?
over again, or the same? There.
Yeah, I don't mind going. So I think mine is because mine was a personal story. I feel like it was very important to kind of keep it very true to myself, like, the very personal, so and relatable. So I was trying to, when I was trying to, prepare, I was making sure that it's reflecting who I am and what I'm trying to send the message out. So I think for me it was a different, I had to take a different approach because it was a personal journey. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Not every talk is the same. The style and the substance are different, so sometimes we prepare in different ways.
Yeah.
What about yourselves, Zoe and Chris? Did you do anything different?
I didn't. It was mainly just repeating it over and over again. Like Alex, I tried to keep the slides as simple as possible so I could talk around it. But yeah, it pretty much was just repeating it to everyone in my house. But yeah.
Oh, cool. So did you do trial runs with family or friends or?
Yes, yeah, I did it with my brother mainly. He heard it like 50 times. And he was actually able to recite it back to me. So yeah, he heard it quite a few times. But yeah, it was mainly my brother that heard it.
Oh, don't knock it. I still sometimes, if I've got a brand new talk and I'm not sure about, I'll do trial runs with my husband. My son's 5 and he's not got quite the attention span for anything longer than 5 minutes. So I just have to use my husband. What about you, Chris? Was there anything you did that was different or the same?
So I would say I'm quite a bit different. That I have ADHD, and telling me in January that I'm going to do a talk for whenever it was May, and that's just kind of like a major problem, I guess. So I kind of had this idea of what I wanted the talk to be, and I was trying to sort of like work out the things that I wanted to put in, and then I eventually got on and did it. Um, so you're talking about rehearsing with other people. Um, where I work, we have a group that meets up, I guess similar to aspiring speakers, and we kind of like allows us to practice our talks and then get feedback. So I did a couple of goes with that nearer the time, and they gave feedback. A lot of it just didn't work at all, and there was stuff which so it kind of like had a quite a hectic rewrite as it was going into like the last couple of weeks before the actual thing. But then I think we had the talk that we did the aspiring speakers talk, and that was kind of like my final version. So once that was kind of locked in at that point, and then I just needed to make sure that I was able to repeat it, I guess.
Cool. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, so using other groups in addition to aspiring speakers is definitely a good thing. And I'm glad you've got that resource in work. That's something I would have definitely appreciated when I was starting. Although I did use my team in the past, so I have used my team and kind of presented trial runs, so it's kind of similar. So that's all really cool. Did I guess Tony's got a question that is actually quite related. Did anyone take the Amazon approach of forming your presentation and talk around a press release or key achievements and having like facts, figures, and other things that they needed?
Nope. But it's a damn good idea.
It definitely is. It's not something I've had to do either. I tend to start with a theme and then break it down into key things that I want, key takeaways that I want the audience to learn about. And then I'll also figure out who the audience is, who I think the target should be. Which actually leads to another interesting question. Did any of you consider the audience, and was the audience that you thought you were going to speak to different from what you expected on the day?
So I was assuming that I was going to be speaking to sort of Java professionals, and that was kind of like my my basic thing. And then when I saw all the other talks that people were giving, I was like, I immediately had this, oh my God, I've completely misjudged this, haven't I? That's like, but yeah, I think maybe that's not a big thing, because like I think I can't remember who was saying, you know, we kind of give this talk, and it's the most important thing that we do when we're giving this 10-minute talk, but in the great scheme of things, you know, the experience of doing it is probably the most important thing, rather than what people take away from it.
Something Carly said really resonated with me, which is the key takeaway. And I guess that's the connection to the press release thing. Because when you're doing a press release, you're trying to say, oh, so-and-so company is doing this new cool thing. And for our talks, I think that so long as we have a nice, clear takeaway that the audience remembers, then I think you've achieved the main thing. In Zoe's case, it might be a case of somebody really tried to explain the same topic, the same problem that Florence Nightingale was talking about, but because they didn't have that cool story, then they weren't listened to. And Florence Nightingale came along, did the data analysis with the cool story, with the good presentation, and she was listened to. And so that's the takeaway I got from her talk. I don't know if that's what she was intending, but hopefully that's similar. Sorry, I'm talking a lot.
No, it's all good. I guess Shabana, have you got anything you want to add to this one?
Yes, I think my concern was that, you know, because it's a, you know, a technical conference, like how relatable am I going to be to the audience? And that was there at the back of my head, kind of, you know, will this be enough relatable for the audience? But yeah, I kind of went with it, but and he was, you know, absolutely welcomed with the comments I received. So yeah, it was definitely opposite to what I had in mind. They're thinking that everyone is going to be like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" But no, it was great. It was a great experience.
Yeah, a supportive audience is definitely helpful when you start.
Yeah.
Oh, Tony has an interesting recommendation, which actually leads me into another question. So he talks about practicing speaking and also positioning, which I'm assuming, Tony, from your question is like, you know, standing up versus sitting down. So obviously you all had trial runs that we did virtually, and then you did the aspiring speakers session at Devoxx in person. Did you feel like your positioning or your style changed from going from virtual to in person? Did you feel more or less nervous? Were there things that differed from the virtual giving of a talk compared to the in-person experience?
Sorry, Carla, just for you, I'll let others to answer. So I think my thing around the unconference is, well, I've attended one, and I found it fascinating. And the fact it's an unconference because it has no agenda, and you create the agenda on the night or the day. And you as an individual will then propose a topic that you want to talk about, and you will then lead that, and you'll either stand in the room or you sit down or drink a beer or a glass of wine while you're having it. So it's more about gaining more confidence and being, I suppose, off the cuff. But then that will help you hone your positioning. So whether you're standing or sitting down doesn't really matter. You take whatever is comfortable. But it will, yeah, it would be a useful thing to attend, one to observe, but then also to practice. Is my thoughts.
Tony, it's a very good suggestion, but I only know of Barry doing that for the CTOs, London CTOs. Do you know if he does it on conferences for other topics?
Does it for London Java community.
Oh, right. Oh, cool.
And it's been done in London and in Manchester.
It's on the 12th. I'll try to find the link, and you can meet like Steve Paul, like several of the speakers that mentor all of us during the RecWorks stuff. So yeah, it's a great opportunity for sure.
It is. I've tried to
next
kind of
Friday.
turn into more of conversations, but I do like this idea of presenting a topic off the cuff. I think it's a good thing that kind of puts you on your feet.
And
no, it is interesting because it kind of you're under the pressure of creating what's that key selling positioning line you want of your talk. But then 20 minutes later, you actually have to give your talk and hold the discussion. It's like, oh, crap. So it's useful from that perspective. But then also the London CTO community. So the CTO community is a wide community of tech individuals. Some are CTOs, some are developers, some are lead architects, some are X, Y, and Z. So don't be put off by the CTO acronym.
Yeah, it's a mixed audience. That's a fair point.
Because I'm part of it. I'm an account CTO or a field CTO. So I'm not a CTO per se, but it's kind of my aspiring role.
Yeah.
So yeah, feel free to join.
Cool. That's a good plug. And we love communities. Communities are a great way to grow. Cool.
I just say that I think speaking off the cuff is a completely different thing to actually having to give a talk. So like I can, I'm quite happy to speak off like the cuff and give an opinion about something, or to talk about something I know about, or to ask questions about something, in say an unconference thing. But that's completely, in my opinion, that's completely different to actually having to give a talk about something and to have to prepare it and to make sure that you've got something that people are going to be able to
I think, Chris, I think the thing is, though, that you've gone through that experience. You've got a similar sort of age of career, length of career as I have. So you've gone through a lot of that experience. And so now we don't have to worry about it. We don't have to learn that, and we're not so nervous about it. But if you haven't done that, I think it's still useful. But I hear what you're saying. It's not like I'm going to go to an unconference with a PowerPoint presentation, and I'm not going to stand up with a microphone. So it is different, but it's useful.
Yeah.
Sorry to argue with you, but
that's fine. All good having.
yeah.
I actually have a question on my own, because like most of your folks gave like online events before, like being part of the lunchtime lightning talks, and like you said, went to on conferences. What exactly is it different? Is it the organization, the pure pressure? Is it like, oh, there is a full room of like 100 people looking at me? What makes it different to being a big like conference like this?
I would say at a conference like Devoxx, you are on a stage in front of a lot of people, and that's kind of the biggest thing. So in an unconference, you are probably going to be sitting in a room, you're probably sitting down, you're probably at a table, one amongst many, and it's kind of a bit easier just to speak up at that point, whereas everyone's looking at you at a conference, and it kind of therefore feels more pressure to actually, I guess, deliver something. That's my view. I'll now let Alex.
And I suppose the other benefit of the unconference is there tends to be a beer or a glass of wine or something alcoholic, should you wish to partake, that can help soften the nerves.
Some Dutch courage are we talking about, Tony?
Of course, of course.
Yeah, I got too late to the thing to be able to grab a glass of wine before my talk. So
Yeah. Do you want to say a bit about that, Chris? Or
well, yeah. I
Moving
mean,
on.
no pressure if you don't. It can be a hidden secret. It's all good.
so to be honest, yeah. I mean, so for those people who weren't there or were at the time, I'm not entirely sure what you said. I'm sure there were lots of jokes about my talk being optional, but
Not at all, but I should have.
But basically, I got on the train. I come from outside London, and so the first 2 days of the conference, I made sure I knew what the trains were, made sure I was on time, made sure I got there early, and then just as it was travelling past, it stopped, and then we're told that people had stolen, I think, signalling cable, and the train got severely delayed. I think the most stressful thing was I thought, okay, who can I contact? I think I had your number, Carly.
Yeah.
So I contacted you and said, look, I'm likely to be late. At the time, I think I still had about 2 hours to go. So I wasn't really that worried. And it was just more a case of just keeping calm, making sure that as soon as I get to the station, I know exactly where I'm going, what I think the fastest route is going to be. Just, just concentrate on that. I think I had more problems. We can talk about those as well if you want, but I think I kind of had bigger problems which came when I actually came to actually do the talk itself. I would say I probably didn't worry too much about the number of people in the room. Like I came into the room, I was expecting it to be almost empty, and it was rammed.
Same here.
And you kind of like, and you don't. I just didn't have time to compute that, which I think might have been more nervous, but I think, yeah, I was able to give my talk, so that was the important thing.
You did it really well, and it serves as like good advice. I've had that situation where I'm stressing that I'm running late because something's went wrong. It definitely highlights the importance of getting there early and having contingency, and keeping your cool. But also, you got a huge round of applause when you made it in as well. Like everyone had that empathy. You definitely had the audience on side with that, so it went well. It went well.
I've had it from the other side actually, from organising or being with people organising. So I know how stressful it is when you've got someone who's running late and you're not sure if they're going to get there, and it's kind of like a bit hectic. So yeah, I'm glad
Yeah,
it all went wrong. Went well.
Can I-
And
it
Could I
did.
just
Yeah. On you, Alex.
Sorry, I just wanted to say something that Chris went through is very important because you don't want to just do the most important talks. You want to be doing all sorts of talks, all sorts of presentations, because you want to be able to experience things going wrong and know that you can cope with them. If you only ever do one talk, then you don't know what's going to go wrong. You haven't practiced working around it, because things will go wrong. That's life, and you just figure out how to work around it. Everything from the slides not working to your laptop switching off, or having or
Security updates.
the thing Chris needs to learn is to have some spare signaling equipment for the train when he comes in the morning. So he when it gets robbed, he can just say, "Oh, there you go. There's some signaling equipment."
Or acknowledge that you can't plan for everything.
So, Tony, I'll just pass to you, but like, yeah, like I have to give a big shout out like on this front as well. Like Chris had the like most technical talk of the day. It was like code snippets about like Java optionals in a Java conference community. Like the audience was great. Like Chris was great. Like all the time. But from a lot of folks that do talks, once you get in developer relationship, wants to be on the planning side of things. And here, like, again, I want to thank like Carly, because it's like we have to be on our feet all the time. Carly was with me on the phone. What do we do? Do we ask questions? Do we open for other people and things like that? And yeah, should we be transparent? What should we do about things? And like take the right decisions, things work out. We had other issues like, oh, the sound wasn't there. There were many issues, and nobody realized. Everyone gave like great like feedback about the talk. So yeah, be on your feet is what I can say always. So
Be adaptable.
yeah.
Tony, I'll take your question, and then I've got others from Shanna and yeah. So Tony, on you go, and then we'll go over to the other questions in the chat.
Sure. It's not necessarily a question. It's more just a comment on what's the worst thing that can happen. So I've presented in many different forms and formats. So from sort of exec teams where you're presenting to 5 or 10 people, to small conferences that have maybe 80 people, to large conferences that have between 3,000 and 5,000 attendees. And I've also had so the random luxury of being interviewed on camera by some Asian news networks, and those news articles have actually been played on in-flight entertainment on British Airways at the time. So one of my university colleagues, when I did my undergrad, was asleep, but then woke up when she heard my voice. I was actually being interviewed on screen, and she had no idea what was going on. But I think in terms of worst case scenario, this is a long time ago. I was interviewed live on BBC Business Breakfast News at the London Stock Exchange, so in person, and I had been given 5 questions that I would be asked by the presenter. The presenter asked 5 different questions.
Mm-hmm.
So this is you live on TV, not having to mumble and to come up with an authoritative, well-positioned, thought-out response to that. So yes, I think you have to sort of deal with what comes.
You do. So one of the most nerve-wracking experiences I've had, she says, having done things like conferences, is I was once sent to an award ceremony, and we were told if we need to accept the award on behalf of the company, we were to pick it up and go off stage. But what no one had told us is that when you go off stage, there was a camera there, video recording interviews. And we had no talking points and nothing was explained on what to do. And my colleague didn't want to do anything about it. So I got shoved up at the front, like, you speak all the time, you can do this. It's very different when you've not got your talking points and your notes and you're representing a company. So I basically gave very generic answers and was very careful in what I said, and then went off as quickly as I possibly could. So I've been there. You just sometimes have to work with it. It's just
Yeah, and just one other final comment is, I've spoken many different scenarios in the past. Am I a 100% confident speaker, and can I nail it every single time? No. Do I have a bag of nerves with me at every presentation? Yes. So just you just accept and live with it. And I think if you don't have that bag of nerves, something's wrong.
Definitely, I agree with that. Right, Shanna, I love your question, so I'm going to move on to this next. How did you settle on the topic that you presented on and went about creating an engaging title? So I guess, Zoe, do you want to maybe give some tips based on your topic?
Yeah, so my topic was on data storytelling, and initially it was going to be data storytelling on developers because I was trying to tailor it to everyone in the room, but I just stuck with just doing data storytelling because it's something I'm a data analyst tutor, so it's something I teach quite regularly and something I'm very familiar with. And I thought, let me just, as a first conference, let me stick to something I'm quite familiar with. So that's how I settled on that topic. And in terms of a title, my title was just data storytelling. So it wasn't very engaging. I probably should have thought of something more exciting, like Chris's What's It Good For? But yeah, no, it was just data storytelling. But yeah, for next time, I think I'll try and come up with something engaging.
Cool. What about you, Chris? Given you got a shout out for your title, how did you go about it?
Yeah, thanks. It's not going to be maybe as great as you'd hope. So so I've got an admission to make that I had actually put in an application for a main Devoxx talk, and this was something I had done elsewhere, and it's about scaling Java in Kubernetes. And so I put this thing in, and I'd been talking at London Java community to Martin, and he said, "Oh yeah, there's this thing called Aspiring Speakers. You should check up then." And it was literally the next week, which I think I saw you guys on in January, and I was just like there on my phone watching all these people, and I thought, "Oh, okay, this is quite cool." Then at the end, Carly, you said, "Oh yeah, and if you've got a talk, you've got till Friday to put it in." And I thought, well, I've tried to put a talk in anyway. I might as well,
Give it a
maximize my
try.
chances and go for this as well. And on my bio that I put on the original thing, I just put at the throwaway line because of something I've been chatting to a colleague about. I said, "Don't talk to me about optionals." And I just thought, oh, I could do something silly about optionals. And that was kind of it for what I thought I'd do a talk. And then I got in my head, like, the song. I was like, optional, what is... And then I put that as the title, and then of course I instantly regretted it because I thought I've now got to have this in some way in the talk and for it to make sense. And yeah, so I'm sorry, it's my title maybe didn't come as
Oh no, it's a good title.
well thought out as.
Cool. Shabana, Alex, what about yourselves? Did you have any other tips or strategies for your title? Or did you just kind of pick something, went, yeah, that's fine, that'll do?
Well, my title was a summary of my last 15 years of career. So basically, I've kind of been an expert in a particular suite of data platforms, and it's not very popular now. People seem to be using stuff without thinking about a data platform. They're just kind of like just using it. And so that's why I wanted people to think about what they're actually doing rather than just mess around and try it and see what's going on. But you know, it's the whole thing about architecture. Do you really need architects if all your engineers are brilliant and know what they're doing and talk to each other and have common vision and can talk to the business and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But you know, it's always hard not telling developers what to do, but reminding them that there's a bigger picture just rather than just the code. So that's what my thing. And I have to apologize, because if I had realized that Java had these things called optionals now, I really wouldn't have used that word in my title, because that was just a bit of a clash. But it's too late now.
Cool. Interesting. What about you, Shabana? Did you have anything on topic title choice?
Yeah, I think I was trying to kind of, you know, I find it really hard to like create the title that could fit in with what I was trying to, what my talk was going to be. And I think I was trying to kind of create something that would give that like indication of what I'm going to be talking about. So yeah, I was just, you know, I kind of play around it with a couple of sentences and just kind of worked around it. So that was my way of kind of going into the final. Okay, yeah, this is okay, I like it, and then kind of submit the talk with that title. But yeah, that's why I did. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. All right, we've got another question which kind of is related. And I guess Chris has partially answered it as well. So he was the questions around how are we able to come up with a topic that aligns with your goal and that of the conference? Did you consider the conference and the target when you picked your title, or do you just pick something that aligned with your skill set or a topic that you were passionate about?
I just assumed that there were developers in the audience, and so that's the sort of people I would try to talk to. If it was managers, I might have worded it a lot differently, and perhaps hinted at different things. But to be honest, the fact it was a Java conference totally missed me. Didn't realize that at all.
Cool. What about obviously Zoe and Shabana, I know you're both not really a Java background. Did you consider that at all in your topic, or did you just pick something that aligned with your experience or your skill set?
Go on, Shabana.
No, it's okay. Good.
Initially, because I think the talk I submitted was data storytelling for developers, and it was my mentor Lena that was just like, do something you're comfortable with, because I think I was panicking myself, thinking, how am I going to relate to Java? I don't use Java, I don't teach in Java, so it was just, she just suggested do something you're familiar with and actually enjoy talking about. But yeah, that's how I came up with it.
Cool. Shabana?
Yeah, mine, and I mean, obviously, it wasn't related to Java at all, or the anything to with the software developer. But I feel like, you know, like I was hoping that if there was some, you know, some kind of mindset shift, like, you know, in wherever you are in that journey, and that could help you to, you know, change the way you want to go forward. So I was thinking that I wanted to kind of incorporate that in my talk, so it could be related to anyone at any stage of their career. So yeah, but it was more important because it was my first one. It was also important that I kind of stick to the topic that I was comfortable with, and I kind of knew what I was going to say rather than just kind of jumping on something that was completely alien to me. So yeah, I think it was important that I was comfortable with the topic as well.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. Anthony, you have a question.
This is kind of self-serving question as well, but
Is it really?
all of my questions are self-serving, you know. But I got to review very early versions of like your presentations, and you know, like Alex said, a lot of things are repetition, repetition, repetition. But then I've seen you working with mentors, and some of the talks and topics changed quite a bit. So basically my question is, was there anything in particular that you changed on your talk working with mentors? If so, what was it? How was that experience?
I don't mind going first. So, like my mentor was Carly, and I think it was amazing journey, like having that support. When especially it's like when you're completely new to this platform of speaking, and like my presentation, like the initial talk that I had submitted, and I made some tweaks based on the advice and tips I was given, and it really helped. And along the lines, there was so many things that we discussed, and it kind of got better. And I think that was the crucial thing for me, that the whole journey, like the talk itself was amazing, but the whole journey where constantly when we're having sessions, I was learning every single time of my mentoring session. And to me, that was so much more valuable than anything I had been doing. So I think, yeah, having that mentor and having Carly was amazing. So helping through, and the initial like talk with you, Anthony, was really good as well. Like you kind of, because I was really unsure. So you kind of gave me that confidence, so that that I was able to submit the talk. And I think having that support around you, it's huge. It's so important. I feel like without that, there isn't going forward. But with having that community and support, you can go anywhere you want to go. Yeah, that's my point. Thank you.
It was a privilege. Thank you so much. Chris, Alex, Zoe, what about yourselves and your mentors? How did you leverage them?
For me, my mentor was a professional in the field that my topic was, so very helpful that I was introduced to somebody who knew roughly what I was talking about. And for me, it wasn't so much changing things, it was more confirming that actually this was something worth talking about. And because quite often it's if all you're interested in is final business outcomes, it's very difficult to justify a platform, because a platform doesn't solve business problems. It makes it easier for other people to solve business problems, makes it cheaper, makes it more efficient, and so on. So it didn't change my talk. It just confirmed that it was worth talking about. Sorry, Chris, do you have anything to add?
So my mentor was Steve, who, just going back to what we were talking about earlier, organises the London Conference. I only had one session with him because I actually took quite a pain to set things up. So I had one session with him, and then I chatted to him a bit actually at the conference itself. As I've already said, I kind of was using other people I was working colleagues to help out with my talk. So we didn't really talk a lot about that, but I was really interested because he's got experience of moving into more of a sort of speaker type role. So it's interesting seeing that side of things. I think I've spoken to you in the past, Carly, about the developer experience. So I'm just trying to find out about that sort of thing more than actually speaking itself. So it was quite good just as a general mentor type thing, but I have to admit I didn't use him particularly in terms of this speaking.
No, it's cool. And it's good to be honest on this one, because sometimes people need more help or less help. And it's just more about finding that mentor match. And that's not just for speaking, that's for anything. Zoe, is there anything you'd like to add on mentors?
No, nothing different, to be honest. I had Lean as my mentor, and yeah, she was just very helpful, like all the mentors were, and she was just supportive, especially with fleshing out my ideas. I think I had quite a few drafts that she sat through. It was just helpful just being able to like bounce ideas off of her. For someone that isn't in the same field as me, it was just making sure that she could actually understand what I was talking about, just to ensure I was clear. But No, yeah, really useful.
Yeah, sometimes you need someone that's not in your domain to make sure that it's explainable and it's something that can understand. And Lena, in fact, is one of our former aspiring speakers at Devoxx as well, because she spoke last year. And she absolutely smashed it as well. So that notion of giving back once you've been there too. Okay.
Mums are also good audiences for practicing on as well.
Who, sorry?
Mum.
Ah, yes, definitely.
My dad has no patience on it, but my mum is willing to listen. And again, it helps you frame of how do I speak to a deeply technical person versus somebody further up the food chain. If your mum can understand it, well, I don't think my mum has fully understood what I ever do in my career, so I'm not sure if that is a good advice or not.
Yeah, I've had similar. So I did my initial degree, my master's thesis was in search, and then I went off and did engineering, and then I went back to working for a search company again. And when I got my offer to come to Alas, it's just like, oh, so I won't understand what you're doing anymore, because she could understand the financial stuff because she deals with banks regularly as, you know, a regular person. But search seemed like something different. So I just basically like kind of like Google Mum, and we kind of leave it at that. But it's a very fair point. Explaining it to a layman is definitely a good test. Alex has got an interesting question for me. Okay. How do you cope with being transferred from a small room to the main keynote auditorium? Yeah, you handle it. So for those who are not aware, I found out at the start of the conference that one of my talks was being moved from a smaller room to a bigger room, which means there's more people. And it shows you that even if you're a pro, you can naturally get nervous when you figure out that actually that room is potentially going to have a lot more people than you were expecting. But it doesn't matter how many people are in the audience, you're still going to give the talk anyway. And actually, I ended up loving it because I had more room to wander about, which is my style of wandering about the stage. So it comes back to this notion of last minute changes and setbacks and challenges. You just roll with the punches and it's all good. And you enjoy the moment because, to be honest, it was a pretty good moment. What other questions do we have? Shanna, what was the most rewarding part of sharing your insights and speaking at Devoxx? Does anyone want to start this one?
I would say, in one word, empowering. It felt like you know it felt magical, like being in a stage like that and doing a talk. Yeah, definitely. And if you always hear that you get confidence or you feel different afterwards, and it definitely does. It gives you that boost that you probably wouldn't have had if you were in a different settings. But it was very empowering, I would say.
Cool. Chris, what about you?
I think I would say humbling, because straight after the talk, I kind of like came up, I kind of felt a bit like, I guess, a superstar, and people were like, oh, well done. And then almost immediately, you've left the room, you're downstairs, you're on your own, and it's just like suddenly, oh, okay, that's happened now, and what happens next? So I think it's kind of quite good as sort of like it just bringing you down to earth after you've done it. That yeah, I've done it, but it's nice doing it. You just need to, I think like you're saying, Carly, you need to just enjoy the moment than think too much about.
You
Um,
should. It's a very good point, though. There's always such a high because you're coming off of a pressure situation and you've got adrenaline completely running through your body. I remember the first time I did a virtual lightning talk, I came bouncing down the stairs afterwards to talk to my husband. I'm like, that was amazing. I want to do that again. So yeah, I agree. And we'll get to do it again bit in a minute. Zoe, what about yourself? What
Yeah.
was the important part?
Yeah, I saw Shabana's word. It was empowering because I think I just was very, very nervous. I was just sitting next to Shabana and I was just telling her how nervous I was, how sweaty I was. I was just really freaking out. So after it just felt like, wow, I actually can do this and I could do it again. But yeah, definitely empowering. It did feel really good after.
Cool. What about you, Alex?
So I didn't get the empowering feeling, but maybe I'm just too experienced and jaded for that. But it's very nice getting that feeling that people want to hear what you have to say. And for me, that's the most important thing there. But Shana had two parts to her question, which
Yes,
is
she did.
I'd also really like to apply for and go for and do another talk at another conference. And I don't know why I haven't. I don't know why I haven't applied for anything. So that's a part of the experience as well as everything else is this is just the first step on a progression of you doing your next talk and the next presentation and applying for a conference or agreeing to do this, that, and the other. And so yeah, I still have stuff to learn.
It's a fair point, though. I guess Shabana, Chris, Zoe, are you considering speaking at more conferences? What's next?
I would love to. It's just getting around to apply, like Alex said. I just haven't applied. I don't really know where to look, so I think I just need to do more research, really. But yeah, definitely want to.
Okay, so maybe knowing where to look and what conferences are there is a challenge. Cool.
Yeah.
What about yourselves, Chris and Shabana?
Yeah, I would say the same. I echo what Zoe said, that I think, you know, I would love to do it, but I think the difficulty is to find the right conference for the type of talk that I want to do, and where to find that kind of information and how to go about it. So I think that's where the challenge is.
Yeah, so I think for myself, I definitely want to do more conferences. I'd like to have more of a like a role where I'm doing that sort of thing more. I think my problem at the moment is that at the moment I'm just kind of like a bit scatterbrained in terms of, oh, I could talk about this, I could talk about that. I don't have anything which I wouldn't kind of consider myself to be an expert in something or want to talk in that way. So it's just about trying to find an idea that I think I can talk about, that I can then put into practice, and then recognizing the fact that there's probably going to be a massive lead up to giving the talk. Like, you need to say this is what your talk is several months before you've actually written your talk. So, you know, that sort of thing is kind of like tricky, but I've done it once, so I know I can do it again.
Well, yes, as Anthony has suggested, a session on how to find conferences and CFPs sounds like something of interest and something that I might be able to help with. Because given I had that exact same question when I started before I even joined as an advocate, I know it's something that you sometimes just don't know the right places. Sometimes it's dependent on ecosystem and other things as well. So we'll take that away as a piece of feedback for a future session that hopefully we can help with. Tony has another question. What did you learn from the experience, and would you have done it any differently if you had to give the talk next week?
I think for me, the only thing, I think this is a bit personal, but you know, when you like have the presentation there, and what I did was I used the PowerPoint notes to kind of remind myself. And what I didn't realize is that I am long-sighted and short-sighted. So I have two pair of glasses. So obviously, like, I couldn't see that small writing on in there because I couldn't change my glasses. So, you know, I was trying to work around that, you know, because you want to have the notes to kind of remind yourself what, you know, if you do forget. So yeah, I probably need to figure out a way to, how do you have the PowerPoint presentation, but at the same time have like a, you know, a a notes that kind of is big enough for you to be able to read if you have something like me, that, you know, you're long-sighted and short-sighted. So that's where I'm gonna, you know, like, bear in mind next time when I do whenever I do something like this.
Shabana, I suffer the same, and I think you have to sort of kind of realize that you're not old, as old as your mind thinks, and just accept the fact. So I've got a pair of glasses that allow long distance and short distance vision at the same time without the lenses looking like an old person's lens. So you can get one pair of glasses that will treat both scenarios.
Yeah, I've been told about that, and I haven't tried them on, and I'm really like, probably that's going to be another option for me to try it on, because I'm like, oh, what if I can't get adjusted to that? But yeah, definitely will try that on and see how it goes.
Yes, things that you don't think about, which I keep meaning to write a post on and I still haven't done yet. Microphones for women, having pockets. If you've got a wireless mic, you need a battery pack somewhere to store it. Earrings clicking against my microphones as well is something I suffer with a lot of the time. These are things that we don't necessarily think about, but are still something on speaking. So if anyone has any suggestions and wants to collaborate on a piece on my blog, I think we need something on this too. Anyway, we're almost out of time. Zoe, Chris, Alex, anything else you want to add that you would do differently?
So I think for myself, I mean, ideally, I would like to just make sure that I always use my own equipment when I'm giving a talk. And I think that's, and I appreciate that we only had, 5 people, 10 minutes each. Having 5 minutes for someone to set up between each is not practical. But I think probably the biggest thing that I got hit with when I was doing my talk was things not working. I mean, one of the things was the fact that I had this this sort of interactive bit, and it was all based on people being able to read the slides, and the slides on those slides were just completely messed up. So you kind of get things like that, and you want to try where possible to eliminate the unknowns, and if you can do that by having it, then that's kind of a good starting point.
I mean, that was a knock-on effect because of you being late without which wasn't your fault, and you did try to get there very early. So I say well done for coping very well with that. Right.
What about you, Alex?
I would have planted a question in the audience. That was really weird. I mean, I was thinking, have I not been understood? Have they been ignoring me for the last 10 minutes? Is it so obvious that nobody wants to ask me a question? So that would have been, I think. I mean, if people have questions, then hopefully the planted question can be left aside. But that would have been one thing.
We need Alex to ask questions.
Yeah, normally I try to have a question for everybody's talks, which I'll ask if nobody else wants to give it to ask a question, because being able to answer questions is part of the whole experience of doing a presentation.
We can feed that in for next year.
But being able to not answer questions, I think, also really important. Like, the thing of you ask a question and you don't know the answer, how do you deal with it?
Or it's not a question, it's really a statement. They just want to get their tuppence worth in. And how do you say thank you very much? Maybe we should discuss that later. Yes, thank you.
I think the simple option, or let's take it offline, X, it requires a deeper, longer discussion than I have time for, and then it's easy.
Exactly. Or saying I don't know. There's no point, trying to mumble through and make it up. If you don't know the answer, I don't know, or I don't know, but let's look at it together afterwards, kind of similar to what you said, Tony. All of these are valid. You don't have to know everything.
There is a standard sort of rehearsal technique you can use where you basically just get asked questions and you don't answer any of them. You have to say, I don't know the answer to any of them. And it's just a good way of getting you into the habit of knowing how to deal with it, because it is, one of the hardest things to deal with is when someone comes up with something and you just, yeah.
Absolutely.
So just one final thing is not kind of, it's semi-unrelated, but it is related to talking and having an answer. So a few years ago, I was going through, I was looking for a new job, And I had my first interview with one company with the TA team, with the talent acquisition team. So again, they asked all the standard interview questions you would expect. But then at the end, they said, well, we want to switch things around a little differently and take a speed dating approach. So we're going to ask you 10 questions that may be related to the work or the role you're looking for, but you have to answer the question in 5 words or less. And it was so kind of the odd technical question, but then it was, if you could invite anybody to a dinner party, who would it be and why? Or who do you most admire? So it's kind of quite an interesting fast question answering, and it makes you think on your feet as to how do you succinctly answer that. So yeah, something useful to think of.
Definitely. I like that idea of answering in 5 words or less, because we can be too wordy with our answers, can't we?
Let's do it next time.
Good idea.
Well, your 20-minute presentation could be 5 seconds. I'm going to use 5 words and that's all.
Cool. Right. Well, thank you so much, everybody. I feel it's been a really great conversation. If anyone's watching on the playback afterwards and they have questions, please do let us know. Get in touch. Join Aspiring Speakers if you'd like to join a lightning talk as well. Anthony, do we have a date for our next one?
We were planning something for either the end of this month or early August. Is going to be so anyway, and you can find the link to register at the top. Right.
That's great.
So just one other final thing, Anthony and Carly. So Barry and Chelsea and Anthony run Friday's lunchtime CTO lunchtime talks. So they're always looking for people to present on topics, and it takes a different format. So it can be just a presentation, or it can be using Miro boards and getting people to work together, or it can be people going into different rooms. So if you want to experience a different way of presenting, I'd highly recommend volunteering your services for that, should it apply.
Definitely. Do you have like a link for people to apply or anything, and we can share it?
I'll leave that to Anthony, Barry,
We'll talk to
Chelsea.
Barry.
Talk to Barry.
Talk to Barry or Chelsea. I think that's actually a good idea, and I think I might kick myself into volunteering Zoe's time to do a data analysis talk presentation, because I think there's a lot of people that would benefit from her talk if she wants to do it again.
Definitely. Cool. Right.
For your time, which was amazing. We should do others like this. Like that was cozy and small but amazing. Carly, thanks for everything. Thanks everyone. See you next time.
Bye, everyone.